That started, Chair, if you wanted to begin.
Brilliant, thank you. So, bore da pawb, croeso, good morning all, and welcome to this virtual meeting of the Environment, Regeneration and Street Scene Scrutiny Committee on the 22nd of July 2022. I am Councillor Sean Percy and I will be chairing this meeting. My Vice Chair is Councillor Tim Bowen. Could members and officers please check that your phones are switched to silent before we start the meeting, and that your microphones are muted unless you're called to speak. If you wish to speak, please raise your electronic hand. So members will be aware this meeting's on Teams only today due to sort of excessive heat in the council chamber, I believe. So I do hope I can see some of you in person at the next one, if possible. This is our first meeting of the committee as well. So if members have any questions or queries or issues as we go through, please raise your hand and let me know. We've only got a few items to consider, so we can move as slowly as we need to. Just a quick note, apologies are missing from today's agenda. We have had one apology from Councillor Sheila Penry. So I'll move on to agenda item 2, which is declarations of interest. Now, I do believe we have one declaration from Councillor Stephanie Lynch. Stephanie?
Yes, I'd like to declare an interest in the grant applied for by Water Street Business Centre, as that is my place of work. It doesn't impact me in terms of I'm not involved in the grant, but just to make members and public aware that I do work there.
Thank you, Stephanie. Cleona will forward you an electronic copy of the declaration form for you to email back to her. Okay. So I'll just move on then. If there's no other indications for declarations, I can't see any. No. We move on to agenda item 3, which is the pre-decision scrutiny of items on the Cabinet Board agenda. So members will need to make sure they're looking at the Cabinet Board papers on ModGov for this item. So scrutiny members have some questions on items 6, 7 and 8, which is the 3 commercial property grants. And we will be scrutinising item 10 on the Cabinet Board agenda, which is the Highways Design Guide. So I'm going to move on to those items 6, 7 and 8. If officers are happy to go straight to the 2 questions that we've got from members, then I'll call those in straight away. I can't see any issues with that. So I'll call in Councillor Saif Rahman. Saif?
Thank you, Chair. Just need some clarification, Chair, on item number 7, which is in my ward. I just want to know, is the grant payable to work that has already been carried out or completed? Because I know the particular business in question, and I've noticed that the shop front has already been installed. So my question is that do the grant allow funding to work that has already been carried out? Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Saif. Which officer wants to take this?
Do you want me to answer, Chair?
Yes, no problem. Up to you, Andrew.
Yeah, the grant is normally paid once the work has been completed. And it's been checked and signed off by our quantity surveyors, but I wasn't aware that work had already started, so I'll check the timings of it for you and come back to you on that.
Thanks, Andrew. Are you happy with that response, Saif?
Yes, Chair, that's absolutely fine.
Excellent. And I've got a second question now from Councillor Rosalind Davis. Ros?
Good morning, bore da. This is for you then, Andrew. Is it still the case that registered charities can apply for 100% grant regarding commercial property grants?
I'll have to check that for you, Councillor Davis. I'm not sure I don't recall giving 100% in the past.
Yes, well, we had it some years ago. We're a registered charity.
Was it the same grant?
Commercial property Yes, it was.
Okay, again, I'll check that and come back to you.
Right. And do the applicants have to use council-approved contractors and have 3 quotes as they used to?
They don't have to use council-approved contractors, no. It's at their own discretion which contractors they use, but they do have to go out to tender to 3, and then our independent quantity surveyor will check the costings and verify that they're good value for money.
Right. And I'm just reading, I'm just wondering, what is the placemaking grant and who do you apply for that?
The placemaking grant is a Welsh Government initiative under the Transforming Towns programme. So that's the Regeneration team that will deal with that, and the placemaking grant, whereas the commercial property grant only covers the exterior of the building, which is visible to the roadside. The placemaking grant does allow for internal improvements as well.
Right. Agenda item 8 in particular, I'm just wondering regarding the grant is for 47,966 and 8 pence just for a roof plus gutters and fascias and whatever. That seems a lot of money.
Which property is that, sorry, Councillor?
Item number 8 in Queen Street in Neath. Sorry, I should have sent a question sooner, shouldn't I?
That's fine. So it includes the replacement of the shop front windows and doors. So as I say, any work would have been signed off by an independent quantity surveyor. So
according to what I've read, that the commercial property grant only covers the roof. The 50% grant. It's a lot for a roof, I think. Do you want to come back on that?
Yeah,
again?
I'll read
Sorry.
through it. Yeah, it wouldn't be just for the roof. I'm certain of that.
Well, that's what's down on the notes.
But it would be included in the shop frontages and the windows as well. So the report should have been a bit more specific on that. It wouldn't just be for the roof; it's for the entire frontage of the front elevation.
But the whole grant is for £97,000, and it states here that 47, well, almost 48,000 is just for the roof and fascias and whatnot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot of money, I think.
Yeah, as I say, I'll check the wording of the report and come back to you, but it should have specified that it's for the improvements to the frontages as well, the shop retail unit, and the windows, doors, etc.
Okay, well, it's not right then. I'm just wondering as well, will you be providing a list of which grants are available to all members of the council, because I'm sure that there are many councillors who don't know about these grants, and especially the new councillors.
Yes, we'll certainly do that. We're keen to make it as available to everyone as we possibly can. It has been concentrated a lot in the town centre, I have to say, but we have had some up in Ystwyth as well recently that have benefited from the commercial property grants and the other grants that we've got available. So yes, we will certainly make members aware of all that. But I'll check the one on the roof. It doesn't sound right, but I'll double check and come back to you, Councillor Davis.
It didn't sound right to me either. Thank you very much, Andrew. Much appreciated.
Okay, thanks for that. So, Councillor Davis, in terms of the response you've had from Andrew, did you want to propose to defer this item, or were you happy for this to go ahead as written?
Well, it isn't written correctly, really. If it states that the £48,000 is just for the roof. So if you can check that out, I mean, that's not it shouldn't be a problem. But what do you think?
Well, the main body of the report refers to improvements to the commercial premises, including the frontages. So I'll just check that wording of the reference to the roof is correct or not, and come back to you, Councillor Davis.
Thank you, diolch yn fawr. That's fine, John.
Okay, so are you happy for the report to go today as is? There we are. Okay, brilliant. So in terms of items 6, 7 and 8, as I said, it was indicated we had some questions rather than detailed scrutiny on these items. So if there are no indications to the contrary, then I'll be assuming that members are happy for all 3 items to go forward to Cabinet Board for implementation in accordance with the recommendation. Are there any members who wish to indicate to the contrary? Fiona, are there any?
I see no hands, Chair.
Thank you. Then those 3 items are approved then to go to Cabinet Board. Thanks, members. So we'll move on now to item 10 on the Cabinet Board papers, which is the Highway Technical Design Guide for residential, commercial and industrial developments. Officers, did you want to give an introduction to this item?
Yes, Chair, if I may give members some background to the common standards and how we've derived at the documents before members today. Yes. So this set of documentation was generated by a task and finish team that was made up by Welsh Government. I actually personally sat on the task and finish group with Welsh Government, the Builders Federation and other local authorities as the South West Wales representative. So the Welsh Government have sort of reviewed, it sort of came about because developers were raising concerns with Welsh Government that there weren't consistent sets of standards or guidelines, let's say, in place across Wales. So that meant developers were approaching local authorities all across Wales and getting different responses from the planning and the highway development control arms when assessing their applications. So obviously that was proving quite frustrating for developers and housing developers in particular. So the purpose then was to let's have a review of the way we're approaching the planning and HDC process to come up with a better, more usable document which referenced all parts of legislation that's either in development or actually currently law then or within statute. In terms of that, obviously, so we had specialist builders from the Builders Federation, lawyers were involved, we had a whole range of reviews, and one of the work streams that emerged from that task and finish group was to actually develop the standards document that's before you today. There were other work streams as well, which had other tasks and finish reviews that they needed to undertake, and some of which are still going on actually, in terms of the adoption of highways across Wales. And there are some pilots that are running currently across Wales in that regard. But coming back to this document, it's been worked upon, as I say, by the Highway Development Control Forum, with the Federation to arrive at this document, which has now been sort of endorsed by Welsh Government and the Federation, and is getting gradually put into practice right across Wales. Now, it's important to note, members, that this is a live document. There are legislative changes taking place. We've got emerging legislation around pavement parking in Wales, and you'll be all very familiar with the emerging 20-mile-per-hour legislation that's also coming into play by 2023. And of course, very importantly, we've got the latest updates to the active travel guides, which go back to 2013, 2014, but there's a new document that's been published in 2021. So this document is intended as a live document. It's to help developers with a more standard approach in response. We're putting this before you today as a document that's in development. It will go through future reviews. It should have really had a review by now, but due to the pandemic, that was delayed, but there are plans in place now to review this during the course of next year, so there may be further updates. The other thing to remember, members, is that the common standards, it makes reference to specification, but it's to be read with all other current legislation and policy around highways. So this document was obviously published before the Planning Policy Wales edition 11. So there are some iterations within there that need to be taken into account. I've already mentioned the Active Travel Wales accompanying guidance and documents, which goes to over 200 pages in its own right in terms of specification. You'll be aware of the SUDS legislation, and the Manual for Streets is also being updated. And importantly, again, another strategic document is the Wales Transport Policy that all feeds in to the development of this standard. As I say, the current version of this guidance was published before planning policy. It's currently in operation across Wales, and authorities are already using it. We've had to tweak the document on one item, which I need to make members aware, which is in association with our public lighting system within the authority. Now, we're trying to maintain that at the standard we have. But more importantly, for new members, the council, via my colleague in Street Care Services, has spent in excess of 16 million, and Mike will correct me on that figure if I'm wrong. But we're very fortunate that we had a great investment plan, and we've got a brand new street lighting system within the authority. So we want to make sure that developers, when they build new estates or other developments, that they put in the street lighting to the specifications specifically that we have, so that will ease the maintenance and management of the public lighting network system. So that's one change that that's contained within this document, that sort of moves away from the general specification on street lighting, and we're quite entitled to do that in that respect. I'm happy to take questions. I've got Justin Griffiths with me this morning, who's been heavily involved in the forum, who operates this document on my behalf for the council. So we're open to questions, any suggestions or amendments that members may wish to make. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that, Dave. I can see Justin's got his hand up. Did you want to make a comment, Justin?
Just a quick comment, and to thank you all this morning for for looking at this document to be implemented with the council. And just to not to echo what Dave has already said or repeat it, but I have spoken to the WLGA and Mr. Tim Pepin, who was his colleague Hugh Morgan, who dealt with compiling the original common standards together. And they have reassured me that the Welsh Government are very much keen to put the active travel into this document, and it is currently ongoing. I heard that news quite late yesterday. So Hugh is on leave, Hugh Morgan is on leave at the moment, so I spoke to his colleague Tim Pepin, and he is going to be, when he returns, he is going to be looking at reviewing the document and updating it, because this document was actually uploaded to the County Surveyor Society back on the 18th of November 2020. So it is, in terms of the current sort of other standards and legislation, they came in thereafter, as Dave rightly pointed out. But it is just to reassure members that it is definitely being looked at by Welsh Government, WLGA, House Builders Federation and the HDC Forum. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks. Thanks for that, Justin. Yeah, so I just wanted to give us, I suppose, a little bit of a background, really, in terms of why this item was called into scrutiny today. Obviously, Dave and Justin have made some references to the timing of the compiling of the document and the sort of legislation that it refers to. And obviously, it's a little unfortunate that the document was put together before several key pieces of legislation came into force around Llwybyr Newydd, Planning Policy Wales, and the updated active travel guidance. And of course, there's been a bit of a lag between the document being created and being brought forward to us today as well, for various reasons. So members of the committee have, had some concerns around, particularly on active travel and transport policy, in areas where the document isn't compliant, and perhaps where that may cause some confusion or muddying of the waters, really, in terms of what the expectations are of developers. And I appreciate the time that Dave and Justin have given to members of the committee, prior to this meeting, in discussing some of the detail and background of the document as well. That's really appreciated. Members also recognise that this document is important, regardless of those issues at the moment. Our current document for highway guide is, I think, from the 1990s. So there's a significant betterment for us to implement this document, despite some of the issues that members have flagged up. So what I am aware of is members have got I've got a draft amended recommendation, which doesn't alter any of the substance of the document itself, but members wish to make it clear to any developers that view the document where the document is currently out of compliance, and that's very important for, for members, and particularly around the council's commitment to active travel and sustainable transport, that those items are made clear. And members are also keen that when an updated document, as Justin's given us a brief update, when that work is ongoing, but when a document is updated, that it comes before us as soon as possible. So I know Councillor Nathan Goddard-John has the proposed amendment to the recommendation. I'm not sure, Nathan, if you wanted to add anything before you propose that to the committee today.
No, Chair, thank you. I think you've covered everything. With regards to the proposed amendment, shall I share it in the chat function, or would you prefer me to read it out?
Do you mind reading out the text for us?
I can do both. How's that?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you, Nathan.
Okay. So, having due regard to the Screening Integrated Impact Assessment, it is recommended that members approve the new Highway Design Guide for implementation, subject to an appropriate disclaimer being placed on the Council's website, highlighting that some legal and policy provisions may not be up to date and drawing attention to compliance with Llwybyr Newydd, PPW 11 and specific reference to the Active Travel Design Guidance 2021, confirming this Council's commitment to active travel and sustainable transport. In addition, future amendments to the document to be brought back to scrutiny for review prior to submission to Welsh Government by CSS or following updated versions from Welsh Government.
Thank you, Nathan, for proposing that. Do we have a seconder for that amendment?
Chair,
Yes.
it's Councillor Saifur Rahman. I'd like to second that, please.
Thank you, Saif. So if members don't indicate to the contrary, it'd be assumed you're in favour of this amendment to the recommendation. So could members, if they have an issue with this proposal, please indicate by raising your electronic hands now.
I see no hands. Yeah, I see no hand.
Thank you. So that amendment to the recommendation has been carried. So I now need a proposer and a seconder for the amended recommendation to go to Cabinet Board. So can I have a proposer for that, please? Nathan? And
yeah, I'll propose, Chair.
Yeah, thank you. I can see Andrew has waved his hand. Yeah, Andrew, thank you. So if members don't indicate to the contrary, the amended recommendation will be put forward to Cabinet Board for consideration after this meeting. Could members please indicate now if they have any concerns with this? Dave, did you want to make a comment?
Yes, Chair. Obviously, when we publish this document on the council's intranet, we'll put a statement with that document that will reflect the sort of revised recommendation that'll take into account Scrutiny's feedback this morning as well.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Dave. And Fiona, I'm sure you can confirm that no members indicated to the contrary there either.
No indications. Excellent,
thank you. So I'm just going to do something which I don't normally do and move backwards to the agenda quickly, because I've had a note in the chat from Andrew Collins who just wanted to just give some clarity on the commercial property grant discussion we had earlier. So if I could just call Andrew Collins in just to give that clarity to members, please. Andrew?
Apologies for that, Chair, but I'd like some clarification on some of the queries that were raised by members regarding the commercial buildings. Councillor Rahman, the occupiers have not had a confirmation letter of the grant because obviously it hasn't been to before councillors yet. So any works that they've undertaken prior to having an offer letter, they will not be able to claim grant for. So if they've jumped the gun and they've gone ahead and done the works before they've had that offer letter, which they haven't had, then unfortunately they wouldn't be able to claim grant for. With regards to Councillor Davis's queries on Queen Street, I've had clarification that it is for the roof. The reason it's so high is because the entire roof structure for the whole building is being replaced, not just the roof coverings. So it involves the removal of the existing roof, and as you can see, it's quite a substantial building. And the costings have been signed off by faithful and good quantity surveyors. And finally, regarding the intervention rate, I'm afraid that the commercial property grant and the placemaking grant, the intervention rate for these is the same as it would be for a commercial occupant for charity. So I'm afraid there are 100% grants available, but we will check to see if there are any other grants that we can access for you.
Diolch yn fawr, Andrew. Thank you very much for the clarification.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming back with within the time of the meeting. That's very helpful for members. Thanks, Andrew. So in terms of today's agenda, there are no other further items to be scrutinised on today's agenda. Just for members' information, the Cabinet Board meeting will start shortly after we finish this meeting to take decisions on the items on their agenda. Myself and Councillor Tim Bowen are invitees to that meeting, and we'll be able to report back to members if our recommendations have been accepted by Cabinet members. If members wish to join this Cabinet Board meeting, they can get in touch with Fiona immediately to get an invite to that Teams meeting. So that ends the business for today's meeting. Diane, well done members on completing your first scrutiny meeting. Diolch, thank you for attending. Hwyl fawr.